Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Charles Aite. In this special edition, we play back an extended interview with the U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Stephanie Sullivan, who's been detailing to Joybusiness the various programs that the U.S. Embassy has embarked on pre-COVID-19 and post-COVID-19, amounting to over $300 million. We have details of this interview after this break. Madam Ambassador, welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
All right. So, of course, you presented your credentials to the president in 2019, and with that came the urge to deepen bilateral ties.
So we got a lot done before the pandemic, and we've gotten a lot done since the pandemic. Human beings are very adaptive, and we worked on both sides of the Atlantic, in the official and with private sector and local communities, to pivot to virtual engagement, doing things we never thought we would be able to do and remaining connected. So a very slight drop in bilateral trade, mostly because of a reduction in oil exports from Ghana. But otherwise, interest remains strong in the private sector in investing in Ghana, and that's a huge priority for our mission here. We have several U.S. government agencies based here that are really focused on the economic agenda with trade and development, investment. I can go into a lot more detail if you like, but I would just like to say that the enthusiasm has not waned, and we have found new ways to interact.
But I believe that COVID-19 twisted a bit your very quest to deepen bilateral ties, and this is no news. I mean, we've seen it in terms of the volumes of trade between, not just Ghana and the United States, but around the world. So if you could paint us that picture, that stark picture of how COVID-19 disrupted issues.
Well, initially, first, I would want to say that Ghana did a really tremendous job very early on, and the actions that were taken, difficult as they were early, have had lasting benefits, to the point that, we are sitting here having this conversation without masks. And it really built on decades of strong bilateral partnership between Ghana and the United States in strengthening public health systems, for example. So rather than pulling back, we kind of doubled down on our whole of government and whole of America, whether U.S. government programs, private sector. The American Chamber of Commerce in Ghana has a list of all of the contributions from the private sector. So whether it was technical assistance, supporting contact tracing, in importing medical supplies, PPE. Certainly the U.S. has funded, the largest funder of the COVAX facility, $2 billion already, with $2 billion more to come. There's just been a lot of activity, so I wouldn't say that it has slowed our bilateral relationship. I think when you look at a friend in need as a friend indeed, I would say it's even deepened our relationship. But
even speaking of the various programs, we do know that some monetary, support came in. You rightly stated the COVAX, support. But if you could quantify for us how much U.S. did pump into Ghana in terms of interventions, management practices, various, measures to curb the spread of COVID-19.
Sure. Well, our AID program, U.S. Agency for International Development, dedicated about $30 million in different sectors, whether specifically in the health sector, agriculture, education, and just for example, we did with the Ministry of Education this radio learning program in 11 languages to help kids continue their learning through the radio when the schools were closed for so long. We are working with farmers on supply chains and logistics, supporting some of the fishing communities who were hardest hit in the pandemic with some cash transfers, and also the health sector, whether it's Department of Defense flying in, testing supplies and medical equipment. We mentioned the capacity building and training, working with Noguchi, working very closely with the Ghana Health Service. So it's really been, it hasn't been a vacation for anyone, and we've been very gratified by the deepened partnership.
And how has the returns been? The returns in these investments, how do you measure the returns?
Well, Well, I think if you look at the data speaks volumes about the success of the program, the public information campaigns that we helped support. We're not the only donor, development partner. We're the largest bilateral development partner, but many others were also involved, including multilaterals such as COVAX, as we've talked about. So I think things have gone very well, and we are continuing to monitor how things are evolving, but it's going in a very good direction. But we remain very engaged.
Great, great. One key part of your partnership with us has to do with your interventions in our power sector. Of course, through the Ghana Power Compact, of course, we're looking at about over $300 million in terms of helping the government of Ghana improve the distribution and even the supply chains of energy. Help us understand, and the 5 compacts of this agreement, how the returns has also been so far. Any updates on what we're missing?
Well, this is an area where supply chain and COVID protocols ended up slowing down the progress a little bit, but the 2 kind of centerpiece facilities that are being upgraded through the Power Compact are the Pokuase and the Kasua bulk supply points.
Exactly.
And so the distribution and the networks and the transmission lines, all of these will be more reliable, steadier, and that will help Ghana continue to shine brightly.
So any updates regarding the correspondence you're getting from the Ministry of Energy regarding the 2 substations and the work they've done to ensure value for money?
Oh, well, in fact, we've been very gratified to see recently many VIP visitors have gone out to inspect the works. I was privileged to be at the groundbreaking at Pokuase. I even got to, drive a piece of heavy machinery for the first time.
You drove it yourself?
Not very far, but so yeah, things are proceeding apace. Pokuase actually is largely completed and handed over to Gridco, and so things have, again, people have adapted. People figured out a way to have the workplace be safe during COVID, and managing that while also dealing with the global logistical supply chain challenges have been quite something to overcome. But I think the results will soon be very obvious for people to see.
Help us understand the prospects for the Ghana Power Compact, the future. What does the future hold for this particular compact?
So the future holds a successful completion, at which we will be very happy to celebrate a brighter power supply for all of Ghana that will help not just individuals and their households, but hospitals, schools, businesses. Everyone really relies on having a steady supply of power that can help boost Ghana's economic growth as well.
Well, even as we're having this discussion, I know you're a lover of the earth, and even somewhere in April you visited the Ashanti region where you reiterated the US's commitment to ensuring a safer environment for the people. Has what is going on with our forest belts and river borders regarding illegal mining come to your notice? Sure.
Galamsey was an issue 20 years ago, but I think it's kind of on steroids now. And just in general on the climate front, I'm very pleased to talk about return to the Paris Climate Agreement.
Exactly.
That reflects our kind of renewed commitment to multilateralism, which also included rejoining the World Health Organization. And we have a special presidential envoy for climate in the person of former Secretary of State John Kerry, who wakes up every morning and goes to sleep every night thinking about the urgency of the climate threat to the whole planet. So it's just one more example where it shows that global solutions are needed for global problems.
But speaking of global solutions, you rightly stated that issues of Galamsey are on the steroids now. What do you mean by that description?
It's not 3 people in a village with a pan in the river. It's this heavy machinery. It's a lot of deforestation that's associated with it. And I mean, it breaks my heart when I look at how the Ancobra River has just become so much more polluted from when we were here 20 years ago. And so I think it's important to be in a position to be the steward of the environment. We don't inherit the land from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children.
How are you forwarding correspondence to ensure that societies, the environment is safe, even as you inject so much money in ensuring that societies are safe, in Ghana specifically?
Well, if you're talking about, let's say one of the great things about American private sector businesses is that they're environmentally responsible. And they always build in sustainability. There's a large gold mine, Newmont. They have a very strong environmental component to what they're doing. And so these are the kinds of leading by example that we look to in the private sector, but also, you know, there's a lot in terms of policy frameworks, multilateral organizations, and also frankly, enforcement of existing laws that can make a big difference in terms of preserving the environment.
Do you feel that the efforts that, you know, the U.S., the world leader in climate change, is injecting into the world to ensure a safer environment, do you feel this is paying off in Ghana?
Well, it's something that we're looking at worldwide, and in every country where we operate, we're coordinating with the host country to look at the climate commitments under the Paris Agreement. So we're looking forward to seeing how we can support Ghana's commitments, but the fact that Ghana has come up with some very strong commitments under the Paris Accord speaks well to the interest that the government attaches to this here.
Let's talk about entrepreneurship, because I know that you're a very key player in this whole field. You visited so many SMEs. The last time I saw you riding a bamboo bicycle, you know, and I've also seen you, as you rightly stated, the very arts around this place made by Ghanaian entrepreneurs. First of all, how competitive do you feel that SMEs are in Ghana?
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Africa Continental Free Trade
Exactly, because we're going to present your submission
Yeah.
to the African Continental Free Trade. But even before Continental Free Trade came, we had issues, stark issues that most entrepreneurs face. And I believe you have been in the forefront of surmounting most of these challenges.
Well, let me just say that I take my hat off to entrepreneurs, because they have to have a fire in the belly. They have imagination, creativity, innovation, and very important, determination and persistence. So entrepreneurs throughout the world are driven from within to create solutions to problems in their environment. And so they will try and try again. Failure happens along the way. People learn from that. They adapt. They come up with new things. So some of the tools that we have to work with entrepreneurs, because we're really focused on a private sector, trying to strengthen private sector relationships, boost that private sector that is going to be the engine of growth into the future. And who is the future but the youth? So we have a lot of youth programs that focus on entrepreneurship. Women, very hardworking and creative, many of whom pivoted their line of production to meet new demands that came with the pandemic. We have a great program. I think we have about 200 graduates so far. The Academy for Women Entrepreneurs, that is, it started as a mix of an online and in-person mentoring program to help, you know, bring very new SMEs, mostly S, into a stronger business position with marketing plans and kind of very basic things. They were very well positioned once the pandemic hit, because they were already very comfortable with video conferencing and the technological tools that a lot of other people had to adapt to very abruptly. And then there are lots of, we have a deal team at the embassy and in Washington made up of all our interagency players that are looking to promote programs such as Prosper Africa We have the U.S. Development Finance Corporation that is eager to work with private sector here in Ghana. We have Power Africa. We have the West Africa Trade Hub. So all of these things you can find on our website at gh.usembassy.gov.
Great. But you know, even as we're having this conversation, I mean, there are stark figures that even shocks us sometimes. The fact that close to 80 to even 90% of SMEs in Ghana do not survive beyond 5 years. And the fact that most of them have issues along the value chains of credit, access to credit, the Ghana's business environment, matters regarding to supply of energy. And even as the Continental Free Trade has kicked in, we're having most of these entrepreneurs shortfall of competing with their counterparts across other African countries. How are you soaking all these in the preparation of your target lines to these entrepreneurs?
Well, let me just say that being an entrepreneur is not a walk in the park. And throughout the world, there is a high rate of failure. So I can't speak to the specific statistics that you cited, but I think there's another facility that came as a consequence of the visit of then Secretary of Commerce Wilbur Ross, July 2018. It's a $300 million loan facility for small, medium enterprises for loan guarantees to import U.S. products and services that will help them go maybe from good to great. Because all the big companies, think about the tech companies, any company you've heard of started somewhere. And so, they say a mighty oak grows from a single acorn. Exactly. And so it's really important to nurture the entrepreneurs. And I know that the government of Ghana is looking at additional ways to make credit available to help boost the private sector, which is very key.
Well, with the private sector comes the potential of exports. And under exports, we do know that the Africa Growth Opportunity Act, AGOA, has also seen so many businesses upscale in their export lines. Help me understand the state of AGOA as we speak now.
Well, AGOA is now in force in the United States into 2025. So entrepreneurs don't have to worry, will AGOA be renewed from year to year? So that gives us certain predictability and certainty. There are about 1,800 different products that can be exported from Ghana duty-free into the United States. Some of these are in the agriculture sector, some of them are in the textile sector. Petroleum is a big beneficiary of AGOA as well. So again, through the West Africa Trade Hub, people can access resources that will help them better understand how to participate in AGOA.
In 2019, I was together with the Chamber of Commerce in New York for the AGOA program, and I interacted with some of the stakeholders there. And one of the main concerns was that most of the African goods that often come on do not meet the FDA standard, hence most of them being rejected. And it baffles my mind, because even though the opportunities are there, most of these entrepreneurs shortfall of the requirement to meet the world market. How is this informing you?
Well, there are a couple of things. One is the phytosanitary requirements are very clear, and we've done some capacity building and working with folks to meet those standards. The other area is packaging. And again, since 20 years ago, I've seen an incredible leap in the professionalism and quality control of the products that are available here, and that could very well be exported. There's a huge appetite for products from places like Ghana. And so it may have been a tough year for a lot of people just trying to scrape by, but we're coming out to the light at the end of the tunnel, and my team and I are very interested in working to encourage entrepreneurship and private sector businesses here in Ghana.
So now that thankfully we've seen vaccinations roll out, we've seen many people take the second jab, COVID-19 cases have dropped in Ghana, thankfully, and businesses are reopening. How do we see investment patterns and interventions moving forward in Ghana?
Well, actually, just this couple of days ago, I was involved in a video conference with the President's Advisory Council on doing business in Africa, along with Minister of Trade and Industry, Cherry Matang. And that is a group that was formed back in the Obama administration, and continued during the Trump administration and actually accompanied Secretary Ross to Ghana and 3 other countries back in 2018. So, I mean, I could just feel the enthusiasm jumping out of my computer screen with this group that was looking at various sectors that Ghana could foresee a good fit with American expertise and commercial prospects. The PAC-DBIA, as it's known, they're going to be putting together a report for President Biden on doing business in Africa, specifically citing some of the challenges and making some recommendations about ways to address the challenges, let's say, on both sides of the Atlantic.
And when is this report going to be ready?
I'll get back to you when it is.
Well,
the conversation we had helped inform their deliberations. So.
That's great. So we shall be looking forward to that. But you know, you talk about the Continental Free Trade Agreement area, and already we've engaged other embassies and high commissions to get to know what they're doing to support that and to situate themselves to make sure that, you know, entrepreneurs, your bilateral ties and everything fits perfectly with this new pact. So what is the U.S.'s interest in the Continental Free Trade with Ghana specifics?
Well, of course, it helps burnish Ghana's credentials as the gateway to Africa. I had a very productive meeting with the Secretary General of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat back in January to brainstorm a little bit about ways that when they're ready, we may be able to offer some technical support to help the implementation, which is never as easy as the ideas.
Exactly.
But also at the same time, we're working with Ghana and figuring out how we may be able to support Ghana's accelerated participation. But frankly, we're really excited about the AFCFTA because a larger market is going to be much more attractive to American investors. So not only will the intra-Africa trade be great for Africa, but having, you know, a market of over 1 billion people instead of, you know, either a particular country, 30 million, or an ECOWAS zone of maybe 300 million. This is just really getting a lot of people's attention. So we're eager to help it succeed, and we look forward to the positive impact it will have on Africa's growth and development and the trade relationship. I feel we have a very robust partnership in all those areas, and that the Ghanaian leaders with whom we interact have a very clear understanding of the interrelatedness, and so I think we just continue on the path that we're on. And then also, you know, the year of return had brought a lot of interest bilaterally throughout the whole African diaspora, but in particular in the United States. So we hope to kind of pick up where that left off and see how we can build on Ghana beyond the return.
That's great. Speaking of Ghana beyond the return, finally, we can't end this discussion without bringing in the coming on board of United Airlines. You were there, you saw them come in, the colorful, you know, welcome. How does this impact, in your point of view, how does this impact trade patterns and investment between both lines?
So it's just one more bridge across the Atlantic. It's a very, I haven't been on this particular flight, but they have the state-of-the-art Boeing Dreamliner, and it restores a link directly from Accra to Washington. The national capital area, and of course Delta is still here operating to New York. So from a government and a multilateral and business perspective, there's we have 2 gateways from Ghana directly into the United States. And I think it's not just United, but even during the pandemic, I went to inaugurate the new Domino's Pizza franchise. They let me make a pizza. I made the first pizza at the Domino's place in East Legon. Twitter, you know, is coming.
Yeah, Twitter is also coming in.
And so Ghana is definitely on the radar screen in terms of an attractive investment environment, and we continue to work with Ghanaian policymakers on improving the investment climate to include, you know, a level, transparent playing field, with contract sanctity and even-handed application of the rule of law. So the prospects are very bright.
Even as the prospects remain bright, I mean, what are you expecting in return in terms of, yes, you're investing so much, but the investment just can't go down the drain. You're definitely expecting some positive returns out of this.
So we aren't going to do it as the government. We want to help, sweep the path for the private sector to come in and have those robust relationships to really boost the economic growth of both countries. We want more jobs in Ghana. We want more jobs in the United States. More jobs for youth. There's so many potential opportunities in the tech sector, and things that someone who didn't grow up with a smartphone can't even imagine, these apps, but they're apps that are making agriculture more interesting for the youth. There are apps that help with learning. There's just, it's a really exciting opportunity right now, and I think people are forced into the digital age because of the pandemic, and that's a good thing. So what are the returns? We expect a stronger bridge between Ghana and the United States, not just government to government, but business to business, and of course the continued people-to-people ties.
Madam Ambassador, we're so grateful that you joined us. Thank you very much once again.
My great pleasure, Charles. Thank you so much.
Do you understand any of the languages proper? So how are you going to say many thanks, Charles?
Oh, may not say P, Charles.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.